What else should we talk about? I mean, there's.
Do you want me to pop out some of the new tax laws?
Let's do it.
All right. Am I going to lose you here?
I will. Can you say something funny every 30 seconds?
I'll try. Yeah. I don't know if I can make taxes funny, but okay. So some of the biggest tax law changes that came out are really going to affect people now moving forward with purchasing because of the tax write-off. It's no longer as glamorous. Before, when you purchased a home, it was a huge tax write-off and your taxes changed. So even if you maybe couldn't afford the mortgage, the tax write-off allowed you to afford that mortgage. That is changed drastically. And so how that's changed is before, there's two ways that you can take on your taxes. You can, if you're a married couple, let's say a married couple, you work for somebody else, you have a W-2, you make $100,000 a year. You can either do a standard deduction. Before this, it was $12,000, or you could itemize. And itemize means write off your mortgage interest, your property taxes, your state taxes that you pay to California, your tithing, your Salvation Army runs, donations, things like that. Yeah. Whichever's greater, you take. So if you have a home at a $400,000 mortgage with property taxes, you're probably at about $27,000 to $30,000 compared to $12,000. You're going to take that $37,000, and that's going to be a large tax write-off for you. Wow. At a 30%, roughly, that's probably about another $500 of tax write-offs per month in your pocket.
Okay.
Now the new tax law, there's two things. Number one, that standard deduction went to $24,000 for a married couple. So now you're competing with $24,000. If I'm at $30,000, now I only have a $6,000 benefit. At a tax rate, that's maybe $2,000 a year benefit, where before it was $6,000 a year. Yeah. In addition to that, they've also capped what you can write off with your DMV fees, your state income taxes, and your property taxes. Yeah. That cap is $10,000. A lot of people think that cap is $10,000 on property taxes. No, it's all three of those categories. So someone making $100,000 on a W-2 pays in $10,000 to California. They've already capped that, which means their property taxes and DMV fees aren't going to be a write-off anymore.
So that's not good.
So that's not good.
Okay.
That's with a primary home. Mm-hmm. So that's not good for people who are looking to buy a home for a tax write-off. Yeah. A primary home. They're going to live in that home. Yeah. None of this affects rental properties. So I think investors buying rental properties is going to be a big, huge shift. And I think that what you're going to find is people renting, they're going to pay a lot less in taxes now because they're going to have a greater benefit. They're going to have that $24,000 where they never had that before. They only had $12,000. And you're going to see the supply and demand, the need for renting is going to rise because not as many people are going to own a home. And so I think you guys are going to see a big shift in rental properties, investors buying rental properties.
Wow. So would you suggest it'd be a good move for someone that owns a home to go pick up a couple investment properties?
If the numbers make sense. Mm-hmm. I'm big on not leveraging assets. I don't believe in that. I believe that that's what happened in 2008 with the downfall of our housing market. But if you have enough cash on the sidelines and the numbers make sense, I think that rental properties is going to be a great investment for someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you see a lot more of the corporate investors. I mean, the people that are coming out, I remember this is kind of what shifted our market here locally was in 2010 to 12, all the people were buying and flipping houses and that kind of thing. Right. So those kind of investors.
I think you're going to see buy and hold a lot more. Mm-hmm. And obviously the flips depend on our housing prices and what happens with that. But what I think you're going to see is rents increasing, because that's supply and demand. Yeah. And so I think it might even be more expensive to rent a home than it would be to buy a home. Yeah. If we fast forward in 3 years, I think we're going to see that.
Yeah, we're already getting to a point now when people come to me and they're like, and I rarely do rentals, but I'll do it if it's a past client or a family friend, that kind of stuff. But essentially, when they come to me and like, "Hey, John, I want a 4-bedroom, 3,000 square foot house, but I don't want to pay more than $1,700 in Temecula," and I'm like, "Well, if you find that, let me know."
Right. I got about I'd like to pick up a couple.
Yeah. But I mean, the baseline rent in Temecula right now, even for like a small house, is pushing that $2,000 mark.
Yeah.
So, that's why you want to talk to some financial people like Nicole or Chris Wiggins when it comes to the loan financing side of things and see what those numbers look like. is it going to be more advantageous to buy or rent?
Right.
You know, because there's some tax law shifts and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, people are looking at what they're paying every month. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, helping people kind of guide them and navigate them through that process is so important. So, contact me. I'll put you in contact with Nicole or however you want to get in contact, but make sure that you are getting sound advice because there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. Sure is.
It's from the good book there.
Let me tell you about another tax law change that affects real estate agents is now any new loans after December 15th, 2017, any new loans, you can only write off the interest up to $750,000 if it's your primary home. Again, rentals this doesn't apply to because that's more of a business. But your primary home, if you get a loan for $800,000, now you can only write off the interest up to $750,000.
Okay.
If before you have a home with a $1 million mortgage, you got grandfathered in.
Okay.
If your loan was originated before December 15th, 2017. The second big thing I think might hit our construction companies a little bit is usually when people want to remodel their kitchen or put in a pool, what do? They take out a home equity line. And you could always write off that interest up to $100,000. That totally went away. So you can no longer write off your home equity line of credit. And that's not, no one's grandfathered in. That's period. You can't write off your home equity line of credit anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's going to be another, I think that's going to trickle down and maybe hurt our construction companies a little bit because a lot of people, they took that tax benefit. They thought about that. Now you can still get a home equity line and do it, but it's no longer a tax benefit. So we might see a little.
So it sounds like there's some pros and cons, some give and take on situations. So it's not like it was a total hands down win for everybody, but certain segments and certain elements are going to have good things.
Right, exactly. And for real estate agents, this affects people that owns businesses. You're no longer allowed to write off taking out a client, meals, and entertainment.
Oh, that's a
that's
big
a
one.
big one.
I don't know if I like that.
I certainly don't like that. But
So should I not keep receipts for all that kind of stuff? Or?
not taking out clients. So you can still write off your meals. If you're buying your team, your staff meals, you can still write that off. But if you're taking a client out to meal or to a baseball game or a football game, you can no longer write that off. And what I think is they started targeting what's the most abused areas. And that's a pretty abused area.
Right. This is like, how do they verify that?
Right.
I mean, they go through the footage or whatever, but